Hello everyone, and welcome back to Conversations with VU Theater Department faculty members. My name is Melissa Hanebutt, and today I am joined by Assistant Tech Director, Designer, and Professor Jaclyn Zimmerman. Hey Jackie, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great.
It's awesome. It's good weather out. A little cold, but it's great outside. So
I'm from Northern Illinois, so for me this is beach weather for me. So
fair point. So first off, why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself and your personal background and story with scenic and prop design and construction?
Yes, so I got interested in theater in high school. I first auditioned to actually be an actor in one of the shows, but unfortunately I was very shy and introverted. So even though I was interested in theater, I wasn't a very good actor, and I could tell straight from the beginning. But I loved theater, and so because of that, I ended up finding the backstage crew. And with that, I was backstage for pretty much all of high school. I ended up doing a lot of the set painting because the rest of the tech crew was a lot of boys who just wanted to build stuff. And from there, I decided to go to college for theater, and when I got there, I actually started in costumes. I had just gotten a sewing machine, and my grandmother was a seamstress, so I actually sewed my own prom dress in high school, and was heavily involved in costumes when I got into theater at first. But I've always been really interested in how to utilize space, and I was this weird kid that my parents had a program for designing homes because my parents built their house and they had a design program to help them figure out what they wanted to do. And I would use that as like a video game, like playing The Sims or playing Pokemon. I would play with designing houses. So because of that, I got really invested in designing spaces and got into scenic design, and things just kind of spitballed from there. I ended up going to finishing a 4-year degree, and then I actually kind of split off. I was also interested in teaching, so I spent a year in South Korea teaching English, but I did stay involved in theater. I actually worked with the Seoul Shakespeare Company doing their set of Titus Andronicus, and I helped them with painting that. And then I went to grad school, and that gave me the qualifications to come here and teach and help out with the theater department.
And so now you're here and officially involved in this department and in this position. So how would you describe what all your job entails?
Oh gosh, my job is kind of an amalgamation of a lot of things. So first of all, I'm part of the management team when events come in and rent our space and utilize it. So I help with the load in and load out of equipment. I often run the lights for different shows that happen. Then on top of that, I teach the stagecraft classes here, which entails pretty much everything backstage other than costumes and makeup, which are separate classes. And then beyond that, I do a lot of our graphic design and media release type stuff, designing all the posters and the billboards and stuff that go up for our shows. And I design and build sets, props, lights, or assist students as they take on those positions.
And how long have you been here at VU in the position you're at?
I have been here for 2.5 years now.
Okay, I know you've done a decent amount of shows here over your time the past 2 years. So if you had to pick just one favorite, I know it's hard, because it's always hard to pick favorites, but if you had to pick just one show that you've done here, what has been the one you enjoyed the most designing the sets for and doing the props and things for, and why?
I may be biased, but I would probably say it's Silent Sky. I actually pushed that one forward as a choice. I had actually done it before as the props master on it in the past. And I really love the history of it and the female empowerment, and I've just always been a huge fan of astronomy and space. It's just a really neat show, and I think it's the one where I was able to be the most creative with the set, as well as it was the show I think that had the most props, and one of the few shows that we've done where I've had to create custom props as well. For example, the main character is hearing impaired, and so I had to create a device that looked like a period hearing device from the turn of the century in the 1900s. So that was exciting to do.
And since a part of your job description that you do here is teaching and teaching the stagecraft classes, what do you think is your favorite part about getting to teach students a craft that honestly, they've probably more than likely never done or learned before.
Yeah, I mean, really a lot of the skills that we teach in theater on the basic level with some of our gen ed classes, like stagecraft, like costumes, where you're learning carpentry and sewing skills, are arts that are really dying nowadays. So a lot of students not only haven't been exposed to it, but most of them, if they weren't here, might not be exposed to it in their entire lifetimes. It does have its challenges. We have students that haven't really looked at a ruler and done measurements since they were in elementary school, so they don't remember how to read a ruler by the time they get here. So going over some of those basic skills that you would think that people would know, but because they haven't really needed to experience those things or utilize those things since they were originally taught them perhaps years and years ago as part of school, we kind of have to go over all of those basics again, which can sometimes be frustrating when you're like, why can't you just read a ruler? But is also really exciting because it means that you're exposing students to these skills that are being lost.
Yeah, it's like math to calculators.
Mm-hmm. And it's not just useful for theater, because I mean it is useful in theater, but skills like carpentry and sewing, even if, say, a student comes here to be an actor and then ends up working in radio or ends up working as a car salesman or whatever they end up doing, whether it's theater or not, knowing how to do basic carpentry, knowing how to do basic sewing is so important to life and can be such a money-saving tool as well when you can do those things yourself.
That's very true. Now, finally, if a prospective theater student was looking at VU but was kind of on the fence about whether or not to attend, what would you tell them about this program specifically to kind of help them settle in their choice of, like, yes, I'm going to come here?
Well, I mean, first of all, it's undeniable that VU is one of the more affordable options. That's for sure. And in a 2-year program, you really get a lot of the basics down. And from there, you can make decisions on where you want to go ahead from there. A lot of times with young people, you have a passion and you're interested in something, but maybe you end up changing your mind after a couple of years. And having a 2-year program really allows students to get into it and get involved and see if it is what they want to do with their lives without making a commitment to a 4-year school. It's also a very small program, which means that you're going to get a lot of one-on-one attention and a lot of one-on-one help with things, which is always preferred because it means that you're getting a much better support network. I would say also that, like I said about the hard skills, about learning things like carpentry and learning things like sewing, theater really involves a lot of soft skills about communication and cooperation and teamwork and all these things that any business that you go into in any realm is looking for those skills, and most other degrees don't really teach those skills. So having even just an associate's in theater can be a huge benefit no matter what job path you go on.
Well, thank you, Jaclyn, for joining me today. It's been a real treat.
Thank you for having me. And, coming from 2 introverts that aren't super comfortable talking, to be able to do this and be at least somewhat comfortable just tells you how invaluable theater is.
Yeah, there you go, tying it all together.
Yep.
Well, that's all we have time for this edition, but be sure to stick around for the next one. Take care.